here. Raise your hand if you like testicles. Ew.
Ooh, daddy.
I would marry orange chicken. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. So Feline and I, we were hanging out with some people. It was in the apartment and I hadn't ate that day.
Do you see me f***ing laughing, my nigga?
I know when I say, oh, I haven't ate today yet, people like to say that I'm lying. It's not true. I'm actually telling the truth, okay? I'm not lying. So I do that a lot where I won't eat for hours and that is kind of bad. I need to get better with that, and I am getting better with that because with weight loss surgery, my dietitian wants me to eat 6 times a day, and that means right when I wake up or around that timeline. One of the times needs to be then, because when you wait a long time to eat, especially hours and hours, when you finally do eat, some people, they either eat too fast, whatever it may be, and you end up eating too much, blah, blah, blah. So I had woken up that day around 10 a.m. and my first meal wasn't until 7 p.m. I never wait that long, ever. And the only reason why it happened is because we had people over and they weren't hungry, we weren't eating. I don't like eating in front of guests. That's just not something I do. So I had waited a long time to eat. Finally, when I did eat, this was actually around the time I was still doing takeout just a few times a week, which was approved by my dietitian. And I was still slowly trying to get into the habit of ordering healthier things when I do get takeout, instead of just like fried foods, bad foods, etc., etc. But I still would have a meal here or there that wasn't the greatest for you. And that day I chose seafood boil. And when I get seafood boil, it has some potatoes. It comes with like a normal side of rice. There's some shrimp, crab, sausage. And as I was eating it, I remember I was watching Jersey Shore Family Vacation. That is a show that Feline and I actually watched together. Actually, I'm the one who got her into it, and it was just a really good episode. We were, you know, just enjoying our night, eating in front of the TV. Feline did not get seafood boil. She actually ended up getting pizza, and we were just enjoying our night. And I have a really bad habit of eating really fast, and I don't chew a lot. I need to chew my food more. It's something I have definitely been trying to work on. I take really big bites. Also, something else I'm working on. These are things that I am working on. All of a sudden, it felt like someone literally took my invisible oxygen cord of life and completely cut it off. They just took it, cut it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I was choking on a very big piece of potato that I literally didn't chew. And I know for a lot of people, this is probably humorous. There's probably going to be memes, drawings about it. It gets worse. In my lifetime, I can safely say that I have swallowed down the wrong pipe. I have, you know, choked while eating, in the sense of like, you know, those types of things. That's not choking. That's not choking. What I went through that day was choking, and Feline saved my life. I couldn't breathe. There was not a single piece of air that escaped me. I couldn't speak. There was no coughing. There was nothing was happening. It was terrifying. And when I realized what was happening, I started hitting on Feline's arm, going like this. She was like confused. She didn't know what to do. I had no way to communicate to her what was happening. I physically couldn't. It literally, like, that's literally the best way to describe it, is like someone took like the cord of life and just cut it. And once she realized what was happening, she was trying to get behind me, and I actually all the food ended up spilling all over the floor. Like my seafood boil, her pizza went all over the floor. As I was like not being able to breathe, not being able to communicate, I couldn't talk, couldn't cough. Like there was physically no way for me to get the food dislodged. My whole body went cold. I started feeling like all over my body, just like needles were going inside of me. And my vision, I started seeing dots and like splotches. And this is the part that like, I literally would have died without her. I lost control of my bowels and I pooped my pants. I was like actually dying. Like people die of choking every single day, and it was honestly terrifying. If she wasn't there, I would have died. And that's like so hard for me to like wrap my head around. So obviously I'm a bigger body, and I don't know if like CPR, Heimlich, whatever it may be, would have worked, but she started beating on my back, like beating. And thankfully by doing that, I think it dislodged, and I ended up puking out it was like a potato this big, dislodged. It just like went across the room. The narcoleptic had a heart attack. Have some sympathy. Sorry, I'm trying to find my sympathy bone. My sympathy. I'm sorry. I don't care. Hey guys, so I am eating the first thing that I will be eating today, and that is literally just a diet soda.
What? What the?
I'll even post a screenshot here of my order because this is literally all I ordered. Trust me, I wanted a breakfast burrito from McDonald's, and I also wanted one of their hash browns, but I was like, I'll probably regret it if I do that. So I got Diet Coke. I spent $15 for this. But I will say that Diet Coke from McDonald's is liquid heaven. So, oh yeah, that's totes worth $15. Since I happen to share a poem on there, and you know, I get majority of people saying, wow, you're a really good writer, which feels really good. But then the minute I get one mean thing about my poetry, I'm just like, all the good stuff kind of goes away. So I've been writing poetry since 6th grade, and I know a lot of like my really old stuff has turned up on the internet. I'm talking things that I wrote when I was 17. You have to realize that was 13 years ago. I am a completely different writer now than I was then. People blossom, people change, whether they get better or they get worse. Like, it is what it is. Poetry for me is a really good outlet, and I love writing poetry whether I'm good or whether I'm bad. And I just think 100 people can read the exact same poem, and there are going to be people in there who absolutely hate it and despise it, and there are also going to be people in there who love it and resonate with it. I think the most beautiful thing about poetry is that you can read it and think of something that the author didn't even really present. And that's happened to me several times. And that's kind of what happened with the poem that I put on Instagram. A lot of people were messaging me saying, oh, I know what this is about, blah, blah, blah. So I do want to explain that a little bit. And I'm also going to read the poem, which I'm nervous about. So when I'm writing poetry, it is mainly just like a way for me to journal. It's just the best way for me to express myself and how I'm feeling. I never sit there with the thought process of, okay, I'm gonna write a poem. Let's make it sound good. Let's have it flow the right way. I more so just let my fingertips talk, and that's usually what works best for me. And, you know, I'll proofread it and stuff, but 9 times out of 10, I leave it how I did it. My rough draft is always my final draft, mainly because my poetry is strictly, okay, well, that's how I was feeling in the moment. So I'm gonna read it, and then I'm gonna tell you guys what a lot of people thought it was about, and I'm kind of gonna explain it a little bit so you guys can maybe understand a little bit better. I'm like really nervous. But I do want to say that what I writ this poem about, if you think of it as something different and it resonates with you in a different way, don't let me change that, because I love poetry in the sense that I love that I can read a poem from someone and it hits home somewhere completely different than what the author intended. So let's get into it. Okay, so this poem is called I'm Fine. Loneliness was her autobiography. She sat in her room and counted the cracks in the ceiling. Her mind was the destination she tried to run away from. She forgot how it felt to laugh with other people, beg her to smile, and her face would crack. She hid mascara-stained pillowcases and novels full of self-hatred. Ask her how she's doing and she'd lie and say I'm fine. Ask her how she's doing and she'd lie. Ask her how she's doing. Ask me how I'm doing. I'm so tired of being this lonely. I'm so terrified that this is it for me, that these tears are all it'll ever be. I'm beginning to think that you don't want to hold me. I don't want this to be the death of me, for I have lost the best in me. I'd lie and say I'm fine. Good job! So that is the poem, and I feel like I needed to put emphasis on some of it because I feel like emphasis makes it maybe understood a little bit better. So the reason why I'm making this is because I can't even tell you how many messages I got where people are like, I know this is about Becky. I know they broke up. I know Amberlynn's unhappy with her. And just all this really untrue stuff. And so it's like, it goes in a rumor mill and then everyone, you know, starts to believe it and all that. So I kind of just want to explain what I meant and I guess where my thought process was at the time of making this poem. So when I said loneliness was her autobiography, that's pretty much self-explanatory. I feel lonely a lot of the time, and you could be in a room full of a million people who absolutely adore you and you could still feel lonely. It has nothing to do with your relationship or your friendships or anything around you. Absolutely not. So next line is she sat in a room and counted the cracks in the ceiling. When I wrote that, I remember I was in such a depressive state that I never wanted to leave my bed. I didn't want to do anything. And it almost seemed like it was a metaphor for like, I pretty much have this room memorized through and through, that I can count the cracks on the ceiling and tell you how many there are. So that's what I meant by that. Her mind was the destination she tried to run away from. So a lot of people also commented on that line saying it didn't make sense. Poetry from Amberlynn Reid doesn't have to make sense, honestly, but in my head it does. Because when I'm depressed, I feel like my mind has a one-track mind. It wants to just bury me alive almost, and I feel like that's its destination. Its destination is to make me feel horrible and to make me feel worthless and lonely and like just horrible. So that destination is an area that I want to run away from. I don't ever want to arrive at that destination, but there are times that I do. Next line is she forgot how it felt to laugh with other people, beg her to smile, and her face would crack. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. There are a lot of times when I am, you know, going through these episodes where I don't laugh. Everyone around me could just be having the time of their lives and it's almost like I'm completely checked out. Beggar to smile and her face would crack. I am so used to not smiling and so used to just being so sad that it's almost like I'm a statue in that sense. So if I was to smile, my face would crack. I write in a lot of metaphors. That's something that Becky pointed out to me and I never even noticed. Metaphors is just, I don't know. I just like them the best. Hid mascara stained pillowcases and novels full of self-hatred. So what I meant by that is, it's obvious. I used to wear makeup all the time and I don't wear waterproof mascara. So every time I'd cry, you'd see those, especially when I was like ugly crying, you'd see that mascara, obviously. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten mascara on my pillows from crying myself to sleep. And novels full of self-hatred, that's pretty much just talking about, because I do journal a lot, that's just talking about, you know, when I journal about how much I hate myself or I hate my life, or when I make poetry about how much I hate myself or I hate my life, that's what that meant. And then the whole part where it's like, ask her how she's doing and she'd lie and say I'm fine. Ask her how she's doing and she'd lie. Ask her how she's doing. Ask me how I'm doing. So what I meant by all those lines is like, a lot of the times I say I'm fine or I say I'm doing okay. I never just flat out tell people, oh, I'm not doing good, because I don't want them to ask what's wrong, because I personally don't want to talk about it. It's like one of those things where it's like, you want people to be there for you, but then you also don't want to talk about it. So it's like this vicious cycle. So I wanted to put emphasis on ask her how she's doing and she'd lie and say I'm fine. Ask her how she's doing and she'd lie. And then when I said ask her how she's doing, it was my way of saying, why can't more people truly ask how someone is doing? Because I feel like when a lot of people ask, hey, how are you doing? It's really just small talk. People don't really ask how someone's doing and really, truly want to know. It's just one of those things. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. And then I switched it to ask me how I'm doing. And the whole part, the whole big paragraph, which is in italic font. I'm so tired of being this lonely. I'm so terrified that this is it for me, that these tears are all it'll ever be. I'm beginning to think that you don't want to hold me. I don't want this to be the death of me, for I've lost the best of me. So that is what sometimes I really want to say out loud. I just want to word vomit. But then the last line, I'd lie and say I'm fine, because that's just realistically how it is. I have all these inner demons and inner thoughts, and it's just a lot going up, you know, going on up here and in my heart and stuff. But yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking, you know. So the part where people are like, okay, this is about Becky. The lines, I'm beginning to think that you don't want to hold me. I don't want this to be the death of me, for I have lost the best of me. So definitely not about Becky in the way that you guys think. So when I am depressed or when I'm feeling super down, lonely, I think that everyone in my life hates me. And it's just a thought. It's not real. I know it's not real. And I have to remind myself all the time that it's not real. And if Becky was to ask me, how are you doing? And it was during a time where this is how I felt, lonely and down and horrible, that is what I would want to say. I'd want to say, I feel like you don't love me, you don't want to hold me, you know, this is the death of me and I've lost the best of me. That isn't me talking, that's the depression talking. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. And when I say for I've lost the best of me, it means that depression has completely taken over. And I just feel like I'm not even myself anymore, because that's not who I am. I'm not Amberlynn, the depressed girl or whatever. Like, that's just not how it is. Like, I just happen to have depression. And I know a lot of you also have it. And I feel like that's where we relate very well. So I hope that made sense to some of you. It's definitely, none of this is because of Becky. I think that's very strange that you guys would think that. I just have my own problems, whether I'm with Becky or someone else or single, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to explain that. And again, it's not like the best poem in the world. It's just how I was feeling at the time. And okay, so I've been having a debate with people online if I can touch my toes or not. So this is me bending my knees. This is me with straight legs. Again, bending my knees, straight legs. So I had to prove that. So when I am bending, you guys can tell if I am bending my knees or not, in which you can tell I'm not. Bam! I'm touching the floor, bitches. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I am touching the floor, so I figured I would show you guys again. Bending knees, straight, and touching the floor. Yep. Quick winner. I'd leave my man in a second. Becky needs to grow some balls and kick Amber out. What? I'm so confused with this one. So I think what you mean by I'd leave my man in a second and how Becky should grow some balls is because I am friends with my ex. So I just want to say that Becky is also friends with a few of her exes. And there are so many other people that we all look up to or we all enjoy watching who also are friends with their exes. Trisha, Sean, David, Liza, Shane, Lisa, Pink Sparkles, and Dalton. I mean, I can probably go on forever. Oh, Zaddy, Chunk Chunk, and Nicole, of course. Oh my god, I love them so much. Like, there are so many people who are still friends with their exes. And those are just people, like, I can think of that, like, everyone knows. Or at least I assume that you guys know. And everyone is totally fine with that. They're like, oh my god, you guys are so cute. It's so wonderful that you guys can, like, stay friends. But just because me and Destiny are friends, like, everyone has an issue with that. And I just truly, I cannot figure out why. I'm a firm believer that when you're in a relationship, if it doesn't work out in a romantic and intimate, I want to marry you type sense, if you guys still are friends afterwards, because, like, for me, when I'm dating someone, like, most of the time they are my best friend. And it's like, I didn't lose Destiny in that sense. Destiny and I are still friends because we had a friendship within our relationship, but we lost the relationship. And, you know, the breakup was really hard, but this was like 2.5 years ago. Like, it's over with, you guys. And I don't know why so many people are so hung up on something that happened freaking years ago. It's like insane to me.